Really? Oh, no. Well, it's just an elderly thing, isn't it? You have to have about 50 pairs of glasses hanging around these days. They're just cheap and cheerful, Louisa.
I like those a lot. Nothing is cheap and cheerful about you, Vikki. Everybody knows that.
My glasses are.
Exudes class.
Class act.
Yeah, apart from taking 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get on
apart from your
session.
Technology skills, you are a class
L&G, and do you know what? I couldn't even copy and paste the link because I'm not allowed to copy and paste anything. So I've been typing that link in about 5 times.
Oh my goodness. I did notice actually when I emailed you and when you emailed me back, there was a while when L&G used to have to sort of go off to another website and use some other code to actually open the email. And
really?
I never used to think that the emails were real emails. So I used to have to phone up whoever it was from L&G to say, have you emailed me? Because you've got to click on a link, and you're always taught, aren't you, not to click on a link?
Yeah, always taught that, Paul.
It's
always
a test. It's a test, isn't it? A phishing test.
Phishing test. You failed.
Oh God, I need a gin. That was very stressful.
Listen, if you need to just get a gin now, that's no problem.
Go for
we don't judge.
Always gin in this mug. No, I'm joking.
Yes. we don't judge on this podcast.
Listen, I can't judge. Mine's bigger than yours.
I've got that one as well.
Welcome to the Mortgage Mingle Podcast, the podcast made by mortgage professionals for mortgage professionals. Today, we're excited to be joined by a fabulous guest, Vikki Jefferies, Market Development Director at Legal & General. Vikki brings a wealth of industry expertise from shaping propositions to driving strategic partnerships. And she even finds time for netball, long walks, and her loyal dachshund in between. Vikki, welcome to the Madhouse.
Thank you.
It's been a while for us too, so we're all a little bit sort of, overexcited.
We're overexcited, I know.
Yeah, we'll all calm down in a minute and sort of have a lull. So L&G, how long have you been there now?
Nearly 8 months. Yeah, nearly 9 months.
Wow.
Since the beginning of August. Yeah, since the beginning of August.
And how long were you at LSL?
Well, LSL was 6 years, but in totality, because it was PTFS, it was like 12 years, and the acquisition happened halfway through. So 12 years from joining Mortgage Networks, which I never thought I would ever do. But I'd been made redundant, and someone said, "Hey, do you fancy working at a mortgage network?" I thought, well, I've got to feed the kids, so I might as well go to the interview. And then I stayed 12 years.
What does it LSL stand for? I've always what does it stand for?
LSL.
I have no idea.
We all talk about LSL. I don't know. Does anyone know? Monty, you must know.
No, I'm Googling it.
I've moved away from LSL. I can't remember.
Oh, I know. We'll go. We all know Legal & General. We've got that one, but I don't know.
Hold on, I'm going to find out.
It's something
I'm going to find out about LSL.
It's something like Legal Services Limited or something.
Yeah, I think
something
it's
like that.
Quite dull like that.
Yeah.
Let's move on. You've asked a really rubbish question.
I know. It's like LG. LG, they say life's good with the TVs. But the original brand, it was Lucky Gold Star.
What about Go.Compare now? I mean, where's the dot come in?
Oh, I know.
Just doesn't roll off the tongue in the same way, does it? Why have they added a dot? Who knows?
Vikki, I'd like to apologise to my colleagues. They just go off on ridiculous tangents.
I'm just moving it along because it was such
I have done my homework. I knew what to expect before I came on, I'll be honest.
Normally
Very
when people...
little.
Normally when people see one, they say, "Oh, actually, I'm busy."
And we haven't given you the date, I know, but I'm still really busy.
Well, anyway, thank you very much for joining us. And I think before we get into your world, I think we need some updates because it's just a crazy time, guys, isn't it? So who wants to start? Lee, do you want to start talking, give us some insight on what's going on with
Not really, Paul. Not really.
No, swaps.
Swaps are so 2024, mate. No one's talking about them anymore. I don't know, it's weird. If I'm honest, I didn't expect them to react how they reacted. I don't know why, but part of me was thinking they might creep up, but they absolutely plummeted. 5-year went up again last night, and now it's gone down again today. And the infamous inverted yield that people often talk about now looks like it's coming to an end. So 3-year money is actually now cheaper than 5, which is interesting. And for a small moment, 2-year money was a little bit cheaper than 5-year as well today. That's bounced back. But we were saying this earlier, I don't really know how that's going to impact on pricing, because obviously lenders are going to be petrified about where the market's going to go. So do they just hold firm, or do they go out and acquire and just try to top the leaderboards and make the most of it? It's impossible to predict. It's just so hard to call at the moment. But everything is now comfortably under 4, which is good. Inverted yield looks like we're coming out, which is good. And now there's talk of 3 cuts again this year in the base rate rather than 2. So it is interesting times in the market. And also, it still seems to be very busy as well. So confidence seems to be there, weirdly. And with rates going down, I think that will carry on. Not what I expected at all.
Yeah. The one danger is that people, yet again, think that rates are going to fall dramatically. And even after, as you said, Lee, they sort of, because 5-year money went down to about 3.6 and now it's back up at 3.8-ish again.
The challenge that we talk about lenders, let's go back a year when we talked about churn and pipeline and all that great stuff that we talked about. And it is probably about a year ago when I said about lenders protecting their pipeline and not wanting to come out with any aggressive pricing, because ultimately what happens is you great brokers go straight back to your customers and say, hey, I've just saved you 50 basis points, which of course erodes margins on those pipelines. So I think you'll see exactly the same practices that we saw last year at this point, where you might see some marginal cuts, but it'll be 10 basis points, might be 20 basis points. Because lenders will need to protect their pipeline, especially if they've been busy to date. Going back to your point, Lee, the market's been pretty busy. So, if I look at our pricing, then, we might come out with some small cuts as a result of swaps, because why would you not take advantage of it? But I think they'll be relatively small, and I just don't see any widespread big cuts. I've seen a couple of the smaller buy-to-let lenders come out with some really cheap pricing today, but they've put some really big fees on the back end of it. So you kind of go, it seems slightly counterintuitive. So for me and my money, I think you'll see a steady wave of very small cuts across the lender community, with a view to people just watching, because we know the volatility of the swaps. This time next week, we might be back up to above 4. We just nobody is in a position to call it. If Bank of England cut rates in May, which is what they're predicted to do, the thing at the minute is the conversation is it going to be 25? Is it going to be 50? So it's not a case of are they going to cut? It's a case of how much they're going to cut by, I think, at this particular point.
So what on earth do you do if you're an advisor right now?
So
I'm a client coming into you.
Yeah, you just have to manage expectations, because at the end of the day, you can only advise on what you see today. We can't predict the future, because we couldn't have predicted what's gone on the last 6 weeks or even the last week. We have no knowledge of what's happening. Yeah. So if a customer wants to buy a house, they've got their heart set on a particular property, or they need to remortgage, you just have to advise them on what you know today. And that's as good as you can get as far as I can see.
And that's the advantage of being a broker and the service we offer. It's about saying, look, do what's right for you now, lock into what you think is right for you now. And we as a broker, before you have to complete, will check the market again.
And that's a major part of your job.
It is now.
Yeah,
it never used to be. Yeah,
Am I making sense
difficult. It's a difficult one, and brokers have struggled with it, because you are in effect doing the work 2 or 3 times. Some brokers have started to charge extra for that service. Some don't. But it's a bit of an expectation now from punters, clients, to say
this is a groundhog.
To keep an eye on stuff.
It's Groundhog Day conversation. This is exactly the podcast we did 12 months ago.
It is.
What feedback are you getting, Vikki?
Well, I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I get all this point on sort of like the checking the rates and everything, but I just keep going back to this point about customers and what it must be like for you guys as brokers, and all of this emotional side of customers, and all of this point where they all feel so highly educated these days because Martin Lewis has said something or somebody said something on GMB, where it was on GMB this morning. Mortgage rates are plummeting. La, la. So then, of course, you get the customer coming in then with this expectation. So even before you've started your regulated conversation or any fact find, you've almost got to talk down the emotions and create that level of expectation before you can even get to the job in hand that you want to charge a fee for. Yeah. So it makes, Lee, Monty, you correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like it elongates the process and makes it a much more difficult engagement with the customer that feels really heavy. If you see like 2 or 3 or 4 of those people a day where you've got to talk them down before you can even start your job, it's really hard. And I think we should recognise that, because it is the Groundhog Day effect. We keep going round and round. But I actually think that emotional element probably gets worse, because cost of living hasn't gone away. Cost of mortgages really aren't coming down that much. So this is affecting that end customer, and they're really emotive about the whole situation with this false hope that it's cheap.
I think you're right, Vicky. I think the one word that really seems to trigger everything, and the phone calls going and the emails pinging in, is the word plummeted. So although swap rates did plummet and now they've bounced back, the minute people hear the word plummet, everyone wants to phone their broker and find out where rates are and how much their products come down by. And we've seen maybe 8 or 9 lenders cut today or reprice a little bit. And the repricing has been so marginal, it was barely worth the cost of the email that's gone out. But you've got to report that that's what's happened and that rates have gone down. But when they hear the word plummet, it really does trigger alarm bells. And every client is thinking, right, how much can we save? I've got to get back on the phone to my broker.
It's all like this sensationalised thing, isn't it? So they were sort of saying this morning, we've never seen stock markets like this, like last 3 times in 80 years. But don't worry, the good news is your mortgage is going down. And you're like, well, we're in a complete financial crisis, but don't worry.
That might have been one of my quotes, Vicky.
You've got no pension, no savings, but your mortgage is going to go down. So great news.
Every cloud.
Monty, you mentioned that some brokers are charging for sort of almost like a review service before. What does that look like?
I think it's not something we do, but some and it's. I'm not saying it's something we would never do, because the workload is massive. But as I understand it, they're saying that 4 to 6 weeks before you're due to complete, for £99, we will, review the whole market again and basically do the whole job again for you, just to double check that everything's the same. And if we do need to redo it and do a new application, that's where we'll charge you the extra.
So these people you're talking about are talking about reviewing the whole market, not just the product suite of the offer that's come out. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. Because in effect, you're doing the whole job again, aren't you?
Yeah, if you're looking at the whole market, you are. I know a lot of.
I think that's fair. That's more than acceptable. I think that's absolutely fair enough.
A lot of brokers will just look at the product of the lender they've got the offer from and make the adjustment from that one lender. But if you're going back to research the whole market again, then
the problem is, and again, it does go back to language a bit, and the words plummeted and this, that, and the other. It is, you can do it as a broker. It's really hard to know how to set your stall out. So if you're, say, 3-4 months before completion, you've advised on a product and you've got the offer. How often then do you check it? Because as we know, within that time, things are so volatile at the moment. You might have, within that period, you might have a little week where rates are lower. And if you're not checking it then, you've missed that. And then swap rates might go up and lenders can price. And we're in an age, and I don't quite understand this at the moment. Some lenders are repricing very marginally, 0.1. One bit, and then putting it up, and oh my God, I'd rather you didn't do it and just reprice.
Yeah, but it's that piece around competitive advantage, isn't it? They might have, because there's so little between them all, and because most lenders have very similar criteria now, unless they've really gone up the risk curve, which that's what they elect to do. There's hardly anything in it. So if you've got a price, you can get a price advantage for a short period of time. That's what you'll do, because there's so much competition and there's so little in it. But you're absolutely right. And the sourcing systems, you kind of like fee on rate, how much is the total cost of this, and you can play with all of these things by just knocking a little bit off or knocking a bit off the fee, and that's clever pricing basically. But I get that it becomes really frustrating from a broker. That how do you do that? I mean, for me, if a customer walks into our office and you give them advice on a product and they can afford it on that day, then that's what they should be committing to. Now, if the product comes down at a later date and you revisit that once nearer to the time when they're due to complete, or the offer's due out, should I say, then that feels like it's perfectly acceptable, because your customer's committed and can afford to pay that mortgage on the date in which they started the transaction with you. But I also get that lots of customers are now quite savvy and are continuing to communicate. But I don't think there's anything wrong with you saying, I'm absolutely happy to continue to monitor the rate for you, but I will need to charge you for that.
Yeah.
I guess the fear is the complaints culture and what's going to happen further down the line, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you, I don't even know what the FCA's position on this is, but
the FCA has the position they have on it is it's appropriate. If the product is appropriate for you on the day that you advise it, that's it. You have got there is nothing that you need to go back to the customer on a regular basis. If the customer contacts you, fine, but there is nothing within the FCA guidelines that you need to continue to monitor that rate.
And I will ask, I don't know, Vikki, maybe you know, I don't know if there was a complaint that went to the financial ombudsman on, we got you an offer and then rates went down, but we didn't put you on that lower rate, where that would stack up as a FOS complaint.
I mean, I think just on the fee point and the charging the two fees for the two, I mean, if you were thinking about a fair value assessment, it's essentially two different services, isn't it? Same client, two different services, because it's a different set of circumstances at different times. To Louisa's point, like what is appropriate on that day and the work that's been done on that day, the fee is appropriate for that. So if you charge another fee, you've just got to be confident that you have demonstrated that fair value in the fee charging.
And I guess a lot would come from how the broker is positioning it at the outset. If they're promising
it's all about that, Lee.
And then they fail to deliver that does become a complaint at that point, isn't it? Whatever the FCA say.
Exactly. It's how you set it out, isn't it?
Correct. That's our guidance. However you set it out.
It's a minefield if you're a broker.
It is a minefield. It really
is. Really, really difficult.
Yeah. And as Lee said, it's a litigious atmosphere at the moment. But if you happen to be on holiday the week that rates actually went down and then went up again, you missed it, potentially there's a complaint there when there shouldn't be a complaint there. So
similarly, if you putting it out there as well, if you've made a commitment with a lender, the lender has agreed to lend to that particular customer, and they've agreed to make an offer. If the lender doesn't come back to you and say, oh, look, we've got a cheaper product, which they won't, how is that any different to the broker and the customer relationship? I don't think it is. So if the customer wrote, or the broker wrote to the FOS and said, I'm not happy with this lender because they didn't come back and tell me the new product range, how it feels like it's the same challenge.
Do you know what? I have to jump in here. There was a lender that actually did that for us.
They did what? They actually contacted you?
Yeah. And never seen it before. It's amazing.
I suspect that's because of the relationship that you had with them, Lee, rather than it being a generic approach. Would be
Let's say that's what it was.
Golfing buddy or snooker pal?
Both. Fishing.
It's interesting from a lender perspective, isn't it? I mean, right now, but here we are. So you're just starting the second quarter. If you play the cards right, you could almost just capture so much market share by tweaking your price right now. But do you want to do that? Do you want to be at the top of the leaderboard right now and go for it? Or is everyone just sitting there waiting for someone else to make a move? What would you do?
So you've also got the point in, if rates continue to fall, then you then price again, and then you've got the pipeline that you've just created by being top of the shops at risk of being exposed to, for it to be moved on to another lender, or, for your margin to be eroded. So you've got it's a really difficult challenge.
Hard, isn't it?
So I think what you'll find is lenders will go, do you know what? I'm happy with my current volumes. This is what I need. We'll have growth aspirations, and we're quite happy with the way in which we're going along to meet those growth aspirations. So I think you'll have their appetites will be set in exactly what it is that they're looking for, and unless they've missed market share so far this year, the chances are that they'll just do a bit of plodding, I think.
Mm.
So Vikki. Sorry, Lee.
I was just going to ask a question to Vikki, actually, just on what we were talking about before, just with regards to buy-to-lets and where things are going. Obviously, loads has come off of investment. Have you seen an uptick on buy-to-let inquiries coming through the L&G network at the moment?
I mean, nothing of significance, really. I mean, I think just on sort of like a generalised point, what we've seen across all of the products is actually sort of a lot of activity in that higher net worth space, which, does obviously impact investment purchases, buy-to-let portfolios, etc. It would feel that sort of anyone that's sort of in that high net worth space is completely immune and has got a lot of things going on at the moment, which is great. I think a lot of people are commenting on average loan sizes and sort of picking up some more stuff in that space, which is good. But I'm not necessarily sure that, buy-to-let has really sort of had any particular uptick other than, like sort of maybe that high net worth space. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because buy-to-let's been really so challenged over the last few years. It's like, it feels to me like it's a huge opportunity for many reasons. Not going to get into sort of like politics today, but, for so many reasons, it feels like a part of the market that really should be looked after, protected, and sort of having a bit of a resurgence. But it's just not there, is it, at the moment? It's just so difficult to sort of...
We've picked up a little bit, we were saying before.
Has it?
It seems to have done. And I haven't seen this yet, but have you seen an uptick on people from the US coming over and applying to buy over in the UK at all?
No, we're not letting them in the country.
we wouldn't lend to them anyway.
There's a tariff on all US nationals entering.
Yeah, I mean, only if they buy a Jaguar, Land Rover.
No. All the US, you're all welcome in Blighty.
But Louisa, didn't I see a Paragon report saying something like 30% of landlords are looking to sort of refurb to let? Was that the gist of it?
So 50% of our landlords are suggesting that they buy properties with a view to doing them up. So doer-uppers, or tart and turn, as I like to call them.
Technical term, everyone.
So we see a lot. We've got I'm not doing a plug for the product because I wouldn't, but we've got a refurb to let product in the same way as lots of other lenders have the kind of bridge to let, and it's proving more and more popular. And surprisingly so, we've seen a lot of landlords buying at auction, but also a lot of landlords refurbing their existing stock because, of course, they're moving into the Renters' Rights Bill has some elements of AWAB's law and decent home standards. I'm not suggesting that landlords that have got mortgages don't have properties that hit the decent home standards, because they should, because they've been valued. But then we were moving into the MEES consultation around EPCs, etc. So I think that landlords are getting a little bit ahead of the game, and we are certainly seeing that a lot of renovation taking place, which is good. It's great for tenants.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
So I think it is a good thing, and I think that it's fairly opportunistic, because if you look at yields, especially in light of the fact that interest rates are likely to drop, then clearly that has an impact on savings. Whereas if you look at property yields, particularly in some of the northern areas, they're still in the high 6s and 7%. Even in central London, you're still looking at mid 5s. So it still outperforms anything that's happening externally. So I think for me, there's a great opportunity. I would say that, wouldn't I? In the words of Ed Miliband. Anyway, sorry, I just had to.
You're not going to eat a bacon sandwich, are you?
I'm not going to eat a bacon sandwich. No.
So Vikki,
you would
Vikki
do it
Jefferies.
far more eloquently, Louise.
She would. She absolutely would.
Yeah.
Vikki,
little finger.
you're the Market Development Director, Legal and General.
Yes.
What does that mean? What do you do? How do you develop the market? What is the market, etc.?
Massive title.
Discuss.
So I sit in Ali Crossley's team, and my role goes across all the product lines.
Formidable woman as well, may I say?
Fabulous. Yeah. Fabulous.
Love Ali.
So in Ali's retail distribution team, we've obviously got protection, annuities, home finance, and mortgage club. And then, we've just got our direct arm that's joined as well. And essentially, my role is to sort of span across all the product lines and think about our advisors, our distribution, think about how, as a fantastic giant organisation like L&G, we can really support the advisor community. What's our proposition outside of product? So thinking about, the advice process, thinking about how we support small businesses in terms of like business development, things that you might get through your network or your club, but you might not. So thinking about how we can do that. We do lots of training and education, but we do really great things like we've got some motivational sales training, like I call it going back to basics. When I was first an advisor, I was taught open questions, closing techniques, standing up when I really want to sell something really well. We've gone back to basics and actually given people a lot of the soft skills that they wouldn't have necessarily picked up, especially if they're new to industry or working remotely. So not just the technical stuff, but how to be a really great salesperson and how to be a really great business owner as well is kind of where I'm sat. I'm sort of like the liaison point for industry bodies, spokesperson, that sort of thing. And it's brilliant working across all the product lines because there's so many different insights that I pick up from, particularly our annuities business and home finance, and trying to think how it all works together is brilliant.
It is a big role, isn't it? It's a big job.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. But, coming from network, and looking after, we had nearly 3,000 advisors in Primis. I think I've got a good gauge of most different types of advisor. Big firm, small firm, sole trader, online, face-to-face, all the different models. That's sort of like helping in terms of shaping my thoughts and how we can really drive solutions that help. Because, the reality is, networks have had a lot on their plate. So distracting, regulatory change, not just consumer duty, but, AR regime that we kind of brushed under the carpet, but that was huge. Margins are challenging, we're all under those same pressures. So actually, as a big provider, if we can come in and help with some of those softer skills that do take more time and resource, then it just helps us all to do better, doesn't it? And that's kind of like where my perspective is really.
Benefits.
Yeah.
How do you... with the younger generation of advisors coming through, how do their soft skills compare to some of us that are a bit more senior in life?
Don't look at me.
Do you know what? There's so many really talented people that are coming into the industry, and it, I learn a lot from them. I have to genuinely say that. I think one of the areas where naturally they're more challenged is the fact that, they've lived most of their youth on devices and still do now. We laugh at home because when my daughter's friends come and like call for them in the morning, no one rings the blinking doorbell anymore. They're like on the phone, oh, so-and-so's here. And it's just stuff, like everything is communicated through a device, isn't it? So whether that's, phone or just chatting online. So I think one of the things that is a real gap is that being able to do that face-to-face interaction and having that confidence and sort of being able to read body language and interact, and I think, I'm actually mentoring somebody, and we were talking the other day about like networking events and walking in a room and all of that. And they were like, how do you do that? And I was like, well, you just kind of walk in and you're like, But
you didn't show them videos of Monty then and sort of how everyone fawns when he walks in.
We really forget that, don't we? Because most young people, if they're going to go to an event or meet somebody, they will have engaged with them online, maybe chatted to them. Yeah. They've probably got their phone number, they've had they don't even use WhatsApp, do they? They've probably snapped them, TikToked them, I don't know. So by the time they actually get to see them face to face, they've had that warm up. So
it's a different
industry
world, though,
events,
isn't it?
Yeah,
total different world. You
is.
put something up the other day, Paul. That thing about dopamine.
TJ Powell. Yeah,
that was absolutely brilliant. But then applying that to our industry, I think the brokers are getting a dopamine hit from a different way that we used to when we were young.
Yeah.
We were all about going in, socialising, doing the face-to-face and stuff like that. It's just not there anymore. They get their dopamine hit from...
I used to get a dopamine hit just by finding the address using a map, because it was before sat-nav.
Yeah. I was talking about an A to Z the other day.
I loved my A to Z.
They were massive, weren't they? And all crinkled around the sides.
Knocking on doors, trying to get the business.
Yellow
with your
pages.
A to Z. Yeah.
That was my first mortgage broking bag. Contained a pocket-sized A to Z and a set of repayment tables.
Oh, nice. They were great.
And the latest copy of Moneyfax.
Did you have a pen and paper as well, Monty, just in case you were lucky?
And don't forget, and an ink.
And don't forget our CRM system.
Owl on my shoulder.
And
our CRM system was the 1 to 31, the foldy up concertina thing. Yeah. That you used to make a phone call, and if I'll phone you in a week, and you put it on 7 days forward.
And the rate sheets that the lenders would bring in, laminated.
Yes, rate sheets.
Oh, I used to love that. When I was a BDM, I literally used to have piles of those that I just used to take out the back of the car and go around to all the brokers.
Anyone watching under the age of 25 has just switched off.
Exactly.
Talking facsimile transmissions.
Probably 35, Monty, to be fair.
Yeah, your offer's just being faxed.
So talking about moving on and generational stuff, what are you seeing, Vikki, from, we'll talk about innovation in the industry, and, then we sort of say, well, is there any really? What are you seeing? And especially with the likes of AI, there's so much talk about it. Are you seeing it actually coming into the advice process? Are you engaging in that respect?
I think, AI is sort of the hot topic at the moment, isn't it? There's lots of discussions going on. I think where the real benefit is sort of like in the back office side of things. So really speeding up those tedious admin processes, whether that be in a lender or a provider, or, even in a large brokerage firm where you've got lots of paperwork and admin processes flying around, and it can really speed up and create that absolute efficiency. So I think that's kind of where I see it. I'm not convinced that AI will quickly get to a point where it can do the advised conversation, because I think there's just much more at play than back to the point I was making before, that emotional element. There's so much more at play than the actual fact find and going through that, isn't there? This is a person that wants to buy a house, has got an emotional dream, and mortgage broker's got to find a way to get them that dream. So I think we should expect to see processes and efficiencies utilising AI in that back office admin side of things. And I think we should embrace it and welcome it, because I actually think that will be the key to freeing up people's time to really grow businesses and really get better processes in place, like selling more protection, getting GI back into processes, because it does feel quite weighty at the moment. What you have to get together for a file, for a compliance check, is significant. And then
Lee's just done one, so
bless you. But you put that together, but then somebody in the network or whoever you're using for your compliance services then often has to review that themselves. That checker might also be checked as well by their supervisor. Then you might get second line coming in and doing an audit of that. So think about how many times that file could potentially have been looked at, and think about how AI could really streamline that just almost like remove some of the burden and just creates better efficiency.
All
I think
compliance
that's welcome.
checkers are now fearing for their job at the moment. Vikki Jefferies said that. Entire compliance departments. But
you're absolutely right. I agree.
So
go on, Louisa.
I was going to say, I've just asked ChatGPT. Obviously, other AI tools are available. The question that I just asked it was, what advice would you give Andrew Montlake from Corico on his dress sense?
Do we want the answer? Do we have to put a warning?
Do you want the responses?
Yeah.
So it says, if we're offering friendly style advice to Andrew Montlake from Corico, assuming his current style is professional with a touch of individuality, here are a few tailored tips to elevate or refine his look while keeping it authentic. So it knows who you are. That's the first thing. Quite interesting. Add a signature element. Tailoring is key. Play with texture and colour. Footwear matters. And update the business casual game. And then there's lots of other things underneath that. So, I think Chat GPT has its place.
Wow. And so what are you wearing on your feet?
Espadrilles.
Hold on, I'm just saying, here you go. I've got nice jeans.
You have lost weight. Are you?
Oh, smooth.
Oh, yeah. I can't get my leg up that hard.
So listen to this.
I just heard your hamstring go there.
A statement pairs. This is footwear matters. A statement pair of shoes like monk straps or brogues in a deep tan or oxblood, kept in perfect condition, always finishes and looks sharply. Avoid anything too trendy. Timeless always wins. Look at that.
Wow.
This has told you exactly what you need to wear. Anyway, but going back to your point, Vikki, I absolutely agree with some of the back office stuff that AI can do. I think it's absolutely superb, and it can take away so much of to-in and fro-in, and also the heavy lifting. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
And I don't think it will ever get rid of advisors.
Vikki, what are you seeing? What are your sort of frustrations at the moment in the market, and what are the positives that are happening as well?
I mean,
excuse me, just before you carry on, because that was, I asked you a nice serious question. Then Louisa took a massive sup of her water bottle. So if anyone's just listening to this podcast, that was the noise.
I heard the vacuum.
Did you think I was going to say Paragon?
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, where were we? Yes. Sorry. Vikki, frustrations.
I don't have a lot of frustrations at the moment, because what I see across the industry is I think everybody's working really well together at the minute. I actually feel really positive about how everyone's working together currently. And I think that there's a real sense of everybody looking after each other, looking out for each other. And I know that sounds really cheesy, but it feels a really nice environment at the minute. We're kind of coping as best as we can with what we've got to deal with, right? So that feels really good. I mean, obviously, I'm still frustrated with the protection gap. I'm not going to not say that. When I worked for L&G and I've been so passionate about protection sales across the market, I'm relentlessly frustrated with the penetration rates of protection sales to mortgages. And I think that, advisors really do need to think about, don't need to sell it yourself, but how are you getting your advisor? How are you advising your customers to make sure they are adequately protected? Like referral, in-house protection advisor, do it yourself. Whatever you do, just do it is kind of but that's been a long-standing frustration. But we've got to crack that. We really have. I mean, in the protection side of things, you guys will know, like with the market study, that's caused a bit of
I was going to say, what effects do you think? Do you think do you think that is actually a downer, or could it actually be something that could help?
Do you want to elaborate for those that are not aware of the study?
Yeah. So the market study, FCA are just looking at sort of like the makeup of the protection market, sort of how protection is sold, what the remuneration looks like, how it all works in terms of customer outcomes. We'll expect a final review at the end of the year. But essentially what it's created is, whether you're a provider, a network, or directly authorised, you've had to have a good look at your fair value assessments again, how you're remunerated and what that looks like in terms of your panel selection, etc. And by the end of the year, we'll know what the full outcome is and what that's going to look like. But in the meantime, essentially, the market's just halted. So very little product innovation likely, because people are just waiting to see what the outcome will be.
So Consumer Duty didn't really give an uplift on protection then, Vikki, do you think?
It did a little bit, Lee. So it did a little bit. Yeah, it did a little bit. And also, it's been really good about is sort of getting those conversations going. So having a real, regulatory reason to have those conversations. So it's been a nice prompt, but it hasn't resolved the challenges of the protection gap for sure. I don't think the market study is going to do that either, but what it will probably create, I mean, and this is my opinion, not anything else, is it'll probably just create a much more level playing field for people, whatever the outcome is, where it's much more clearer for everybody.
Yeah. Which I think is the right thing. Is good. I think that's one of the issues.
Yeah.
I think it's, I don't think there's been much innovation in the protection space at all. I think the products are quite outdated. I think you got the Vitality, which is something different.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it feels like there's nothing. It's the same old stuff, the same old marketing, the same old. There's no
and the same old fear of clawback.
Where's the forward thinking? Where's the products for a new generation of people? And I think protection companies need to have a look at themselves and how they develop products, how they price them, how they market them.
Yeah.
And I think that's something the whole industry needs to come together. There's too much beating of brokers on that. You must do better, you can sell more, etc. I think actually most brokers are quite behind it, but it's something that needs to be sold when it shouldn't need to be sold.
Yeah.
I think there's also another piece here, which is about, outside of our industry, we need to normalise protection. We need to normalise protection as, like, you get a mortgage, you get home insurance because you have to, because it's part of your mortgage, and protection is part of that normalised process, rather than it being seen as like a sales dirty product. It's actually something really valuable that protects lenders as much as it does the end customer.
We're actually processing a claim. We're doing a claim for someone who unfortunately passed away, and when you start processing the claim and you look at how it's impacted the life, you really see the importance of it, and you start singing it from the rooftops. And I think sometimes with protection, the word sale is overused. It's not the right word to use with protection as well.
I agree. It's a wrong word. That's sort of my point. If you feel like you have to sell it when you shouldn't, because it's not. Everyone, I'm passionate about it, like you, Vikki. Everyone should have it.
It's like
it should be mandatory. Really,
it's a risk-based conversation, isn't it? It's a risk-based.
Should be normalised, shouldn't it? Should be part of the contract.
It's got to be normalised.
It's a whole other podcast, really, isn't it?
I tell you what, it's a whole new podcast. We talked about product placement. I've got to show you this, right? Because this is really important. How can my face fit in between this?
That's very good.
They're both not been opened, so I could do some tasting on live if you want to do that.
You could do,
because this is milk chocolate. I've not had this one before. This one is just a taste sensation.
Personally, can I just say that I do not approve or condone of any product placement whatsoever.
I did see that you've been tangoed throughout this recording. What flavour is that? Cherry? I've only ever seen that thing. No. Anyway,
time's running away from us. So we need to know more about you, Vikki. So you sent me over your bio. Shouldn't have done that.
No, I don't know why I did that.
Because you were asked and you were just doing as you were told, which is very good of you.
You enjoy netball, long walks, and your loyal dachshund. What's the name of your doggy?
Percy the dachshund.
Brilliant. Love it. So how serious are you about netball?
Well, so I had a long period of time off netball and went back into it 3 years ago, and I started playing with an old ladies team, and then quite quickly went straight back into the Birmingham League, and I now play with 15 and 16-year-old girls every Saturday morning.
Wow.
And goal shooter or goal defence?
Oh no, I'm centre.
No way, you're too tall to be a centre.
Oh no, I am just ridiculous. I don't know why I do it to myself, because it absolutely kills me every game. And none of these kids will ever take the centre bib off me, because they don't want to run around for an hour all over the court, but I seemingly do. But joking apart, I really love it. I love being part of a team game again, because I've spent most of my adult life either in the gym on a Peloton or doing some sort of hideous training to lose weight, and never really enjoyed it. And now actually I really enjoy netball because it's just such a fun sport. And, you know, when you're playing netball with 15 to 16-year-old girls every Saturday, you do learn a lot about the youth. Particularly, I learn a lot about my own children because most of these girls know my own daughters. So it's a really great way of finding out what your own children are doing, I find, as well.
And considering it's meant to be sort of non-contact, when it's like competitive, it's...
Oh, no, it's bad. It's bad. I had a really bad injury just before Christmas. I bent my thumb right back and did all the ligaments, and my hand was black, and I'd left it for a day. I thought, oh, it'll be all right, shake it off, but it was black. By the time I got to A&E, they were literally like, this is ridiculous. But that's just normal in netball. Everybody's black and blue all the time. We're really quite hard in netball.
And you said about Peloton, so you love a bit of spin.
Yeah, I do love my Peloton. I am one of those
Who's your favourite Peloton trainer?
Well, Ben and Leanne are my favourite.
I was going to say, I bet it's Ben and Leanne. They are my two as well.
You do Peloton, Monty?
What? Listen, there is nowhere else to put my clothes. Okay.
Ben and Leanne are ace. We had them at a Primus conference.
I know, I heard that. And I was so
3 years
jealous.
ago, and they are the loveliest people. I tell you what, they're amazing.
They're going to have perfect children as well.
They're a very inspirational couple. They've been through a lot.
They are. They're incredible.
Are. Like, they're much more, you know, like aesthetically, they're beautiful. Obviously, super fit, but there's a lot more.
Monty's
to them
never
that's
noticed
really
that
interesting. They're great.
I do love Leanne. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ben has such a brilliant taste in music as well.
Yeah, that's what I like, Monty. It's all the dance music, isn't it? All the old tunes. Cool. It's brilliant. Yeah.
When we say old, what are we talking? Like 90s?
90s, yeah. 90s.
The 2010s.
The really old stuff, you mean?
90s.
Not the 60s, I remember.
Neil Diamond on the Peloton. Very good.
That's my kind of Peloton. Yeah. Love on the rocks on the Peloton.
On the penny farthing.
That's the tempo. That's it.
So all I'm hearing here is safe cycling. So I'm doing a charity bike ride with some of my Paragon colleagues, and we're cycling from Fenchurch Street. So our office is in Fenchurch Street.
And you're doing safe cycling. That is the centre of.
Well, no, it's actually going to move on the roads, and we're cycling to Solihull.
Which is where I live.
Yes.
That's where I live.
So
how long is that going to take you?
So we'll do it over 2 days. It's 75 miles a day.
Wow.
So it's reasonable. So if you
bikes, I don't think they go that far.
I was going to say, this is why you're safe cycling.
I'll do it on my Peloton with you.
Right, okay. You could do that, couldn't you? You could set it up and
on the back of a truck.
How brilliant. No, you don't have to move. You could just set it up in your home.
What's the charity?
5 miles. It's Guide Dogs is what we're going to support.
Oh, that's nice. Lovely.
So this is in June.
So we're going to introduce...
Vikki, you would like to ask us? We should make that a feature. Whoever comes on.
Yeah, we're clearly not that interesting.
Or not.
No, nothing to ask you at all.
Well, I'm actually really interested because, like, just going back to mortgage market overall, is H1 feels really buoyant, loads of maturities, that feels really good. But where's your temperature check on H2? Like, how confident are you feeling that, you know, like, but what's your gut telling you, Louisa? Like, forget the Trump side of things. What's your gut telling you? Like, because this H2, you know, we all feel a bit, but I'm wondering...
Do you want to change your question to what's your favourite food?
Can I have one on sport?
Do you know what? I think it's just going to be more of the same. I can't help thinking that for me, everybody needs somewhere to live, whether that be in a rental property or whether that be their own home, and that has never changed. And so we see some peaks and troughs, but irrespective of what's going on anywhere else in the world, we still have that dynamic. And for me, that just drives positivity. We might still be lacking a little bit in confidence, and I think that's what's happening. There's that confidence element. But for the rest of it, people will just go, I can afford to buy this house, I've saved up, and I'm going to go with it. If the regulator does what they, talking about LTI caps and things like that, then, that is going to benefit some first-time buyers, not everyone, because you're still going to have all of the other affordability constraints. But, I think that there are some good things coming out of the market, irrespective of what, the Orange Man overseas does. I think we've still got some, some really positive things, and people still need somewhere to live.
Yeah.
Totally agree. We've started really well. The second quarter, you've seen the flexes on affordability from lenders. I think for first-time buyers seem to be strong. I'm massively upbeat about the year ahead. I have to admit, I haven't said that for a while. First quarter was really good. Second quarter's got momentum. Protection, I think, needs to be spoken about a lot more, as you said. But I think people are starting to listen to that as well. I feel hugely upbeat about it.
So, Vikki, we've introduced another segment to the podcast is Quickfire, 10 questions.
Oh, okay. No.
So
it's not like
no time to think about it.
He's making this up.
You've got those questions.
I've just made this up on the fly. Ready?
He's made it up.
Vikki, you ready?
I don't know if I am, but I suppose I'll have to be.
Okay.
A lot of people have said that on this podcast. Don't worry about it.
Sweet or savoury?
Oh, savoury, 100%.
Tea or coffee?
Tea.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Going out or staying in?
Out.
Out.
Beach holiday or city break?
Beach.
Early bird or night owl?
Oh, no, I can be both. Early bird, because I'm on my Peloton.
Reading a book or watching a film?
Film.
Gym workout or long dog walk?
Oh, dog walk.
Joey or
netball practice? Netball practice or family time?
Oh, family time all the time.
Netflix or Amazon Prime?
Oh, Netflix.
Lee or Monty?
Lee or Monty, neither.
Paul.
Vikki, thank you for joining the Madhouse today. It has been a real privilege to have you on the podcast, and we really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.